Intro. Oh, we're live now.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. This is King Robert Washington. Um, Today on the show, we have a very special guest. I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone. My name is Fatima Moody. I reside in Grand Prairie, Texas. I am a child support enforcement and establishment officer for the Office of Attorney General here in Texas, and I am currently working on my PhD and in Homeland Security, in criminal justice and Homeland Security and public policies. Um, I am also now completing my dissertation in regards to the father-child relationship as it impacts parental alienations on the based upon the concept of the Texas Family Code. And so I'm just happy to be here today to have a conversation, and discuss with Mr. Washington anything that relates to parental alienation. So.
Yeah, and I appreciate you being on the show as well. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the topic. And as y'all see, the topic is surviving a toxic baby mama series. And what we're going to do, we're going to focus on father alienation. So first of all, let's dive into this. What is father alienation, or rather, what is parental alienation?
Okay, so parental alienation, it is basically, and it was founded years ago by Gardner. And the basis of parental alienation when he first founded it, and it went from parental alienation syndrome to parental alienation because if you drop the syndrome, then you don't have to focus mainly on the psychological effects of it. It was also the concept was based around custody litigations, and that the custody litigation was distinguishing between false allegations that were made by the parent, which was sexual abuse. So that's how the problem arose as far as with parental alienation. Over time, gardeners tend to notice that there were many issues other than psychological issues and there was no child abuse or sexual abuse that was being taken place. So the most prevalent thing that he found was that there were like misleading information by the mother, more so, hidden interactions between the mother and the child. There was all hidden interaction between the father and the child due to many of the times by the mother. And also, there were just conflicts and separations between the two, which made it more so that it became not a sexual abuse thing. It became more of like a manipulation tactic that over time founded and became prevalent to where um, there was some type of alienation that was taking place, and it was not against it wasn't sexual abuse. It was actually um, alienation from withholding the child from um, the other parent, and normally sometimes that other parent is the father. So parental alienation is basically any type of what they look at as a child or children not having that immediate access or denied that access um, by one denied that access from one parent guarded by the other parent in so many words to sum it all up.
So you mentioned a couple of key things. First of all, You mentioned the first that the parental alienation over a period of time it evolved from basic psychological behavior, and it does manifest to more of a syndrome right now. Could you expound a little bit more on it? First, the psychological part where it starts at the beginning all the way to the current status of it right now.
Okay, so when it first, the psychological part, so basically when Gardner first, like I said, tried to, when he first came up with parental alienation, the problem was that, his main thing was that the reason why the children did not want to see or be around with other parent, it was more of a sexual abuse that was taking place, which caused the child to be psychologically destructive, and to act out as to why they did not want to have any access to the child. However, over after doing so much research, Gardner noticed that there was a shift, that it was not any sexual abuse taking place. However, the psychological was still there. However, it was more of a hidden um, act of that one parent acting or enabling the other child, or enabling situations to remove access from that child to have access to one other parent. So that's what he became. So that's where it shifted from being a reason that the children are not, or they're being alienated, is it wasn't, it's not because of child sex abuse. um it was mostly because of, he's seen that there was a bolster of various issues, hidden issues taking place, as to why one child did not have access to the parent, why that child was denied that access.
Interesting. Now, is it mainly the woman who corrects the parent alienation, or is it the father, or is it vice versa?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, over time, and there's much research that will suggest that the alienator was usually the mother, and the alienated was usually the father. So the mother was usually the one that was basically controlling um, the scenario of visitation or access to the child by the father. Well, by the mother. I'm sorry. To so.
Oh, gotcha. So do parental alienation do this only occur well when the parents go through a separation, like on divorce, or like if there's in a pre-rich marriage? That's the one time that occurs, or can it happen in just a single parent household period without the couples being married?
No, I mean, there's always, like, with fathers' rights and advocate. They have fathers' right, and they have these different type of advocacies for, shared parent households or co-parenting households. That there's a shift in it. Most of the two-parent households, when they separate, there becomes an alienation, and that alienation can be different than what it is a shift from a single-parent household. And when I say that, the role of a father in a two-parent household, once they divorce, that access that father is used to having to that child every day, it seems to it is going to decrease based upon if you go before the child support system, unless you have an attorney, they give you the standard visitation. So when that child or that father is used to seeing each other and interacting with each other every day, then that can also be a part of an alienation, because if he is used to a certain dynamic as far as with how their family structure is ran, whether that's the father or the child, if they're used to that, and if they're not able to have that much access or that much control over that, when it goes before the divorce or before the courts, that they consider that as they're being alienated, from having that access. As far as with single parents, some who have never been married. However, you can have some that have had great relationships, but they just didn't work out. That type of alienation can come from you, like like I said, standard visitation. If there is a first weekend of each month, and let's just say the mother said, okay, well, okay, that's your weekend, but you need to come and get them at a certain time. And if you don't, because the court order says this, then you can't get them. Or even if it's just, hey, I need to switch this weekend. So you need, even though it's your weekend, I'm going to take this weekend because we have something to do. Or not even, providing them with the information as far as with the health of the children, or access to speak with the child, communicate via telephone, or however the case may be. Those are circumstances where alienation, it affects both, whether they were married or single. But again, it can affect it in different ways because one is used to a certain level, a certain dynamic of how their family is ran, and another side is not used to it. However, it still require, and they still have acts, they still require and want that same equal access. So they alienation on both ends. Um, it basically has the same, it basically affects whether both, whether they were married and together, or whether they were not married, but they still have this, though they still have the same effects. The impacts may be a little bit, the effects may be a little bit different, but they're still the same type of, it still falls within alienation, that they feel that that's what they're being alien, that's what they're going to call it, that's their feeling. So it is still tied
Absolutely.
to, yeah.
So question two. Well, what are some of the signs that on a person could pick up that they feel like they're being alienated from their child? Well, what tactics do this person who's the alienator uses?
Well, there are many tactics. There are so many because again, and I'm only saying, and I'm not trying to say that many of the women are, the alienators. But again, research show that a high regards of them are women, and they are considered the custodial parents. So, different types of tactics that an alienator may use is that they may say, okay, okay, well, you can't get your child today because, and let's just say child support is involved. Well, I didn't get the check didn't come today. And if they say, well, the check didn't come today, that means you can't get your daughter today. And they was like, well, that's not what the order said. Okay, but that's what I say. So that's what we're gonna do. We're not, no, you're not gonna get them. You didn't pay a check. You didn't make a payment today. So we're not gonna do it. Or another form of alienation that can also place on the child's psyche. You can tell the child, well, your dad doesn't care about you. I mean, he only pays, he barely pays the bare minimum. He doesn't want to see you. Or, oh, you see, now that your father doesn't want to see you, that's why he can come and get you this weekend. Those are the signs. Or there's always a time that they can say, well, oh, his little girlfriend, he got a girlfriend now, so he doesn't have time with you. Or he went on a trip, and therefore he didn't ask to take you. Or because you didn't get these type of shoes, your dad doesn't care, that much about you, or anything like that. So those are, or limited contact as far as with communication. If there's, hey, can you call and say, hey, can I speak to my child? No, they're busy, they'll call you back, they're eating, they can't, they're playing. Those are the forms. Just wanted to be present, wanted to know information about school. If they can say, well, how are their grades? Oh, I don't know. You will get it in the email. Or if they're being disciplined at school, and they're like, hey, why didn't you tell me this? Why would I? Well, because I'm the parent. Okay, well, I didn't have to tell you everything. Those are tactics that people should at least pick up on when they're, because again, they start off small, but they will over time will expand and become more and more. It would more and more, it would progress into a different type of alienation, as far as with, like I said, playing on the child's psyche about you know how the father or the mother does not care, or oh, he doesn't want a relationship with you, or I've tried to reach him, he didn't answer. And so if the child can call the father one day and the father doesn't answer, that's gonna revert back to the child saying, okay, well, mom, you did say that he doesn't care, that's why he didn't answer. Could be that he was in the hospital or at work and that's why he couldn't answer. Not knowing that he didn't call back several times, returning a phone call to speak to you, but it's being
Yeah.
denied. That denied access is forced with any type of communication. That those are various tactics that is used as alienation.
Yeah. And with that, I agree with everything that you're saying. And I can guarantee that me personally, I have at least experienced at least three to four of them things that you have mentioned.
Mhm.
For as a form of alienation. I have experience where the custodial will make up excuse when I try to just get information just to see how the children doing. They'll go back and say, well, they're busy doing their homework. Can you call back later? Then when you call back later, oh, they're asleep. Um, it be other times where I experience like, well, hey, you know the children don't have to come just doing the standard visitation rate. They could see me anytime they want to. In fact, I want them to see me more. No, we're gonna stick to our standard visitation order. And the thing about it is that I'm not the only person who experienced this. A lot of men have experienced this, especially when you briefly mentioned about the child support too, where it be some certain men they just be behind on their child support. The custodial parent get upset about that. They try to withhold the child from him just so he can catch up with his child support payments. The father could, as you mentioned too, as well, be in a relationship, and they start to feel some type about that and try to use the child as a weapon to disavow the relationship. Therefore, therefore to keep the father from pretty much just being happy. So
Right.
I agree with a lot of things that you're saying. A lot of men preferably been going through these different things that you mentioned.
Right. And I think
Let's.
that, oh, go right ahead.
I'm not. Go ahead. You good? You
No,
good?
and what you had stated, like you said that you want that outside access to the child outside the visitation, and when you're have a child support order, they do tell you, okay, well, these are the standard visitation. However, if you guys have something that that you guys can agree upon, that you have something that's already working for you, then you can continue that. However, you can't, they tell you to relate back to the standard visitation. However, again, if you're the non-custodial parent and you're actively involved in your child's life, you feel like that is not enough time. And that can lead to one to feel as if they're being alienated because they say that they're having the equal rights and to the child, but they don't have that equal access that they feel that they should be granted. And I think that's one thing, like I said, that plays on it. Whether you are married, um, divorced, or single parents going through this transition, um, it is common. Those are all the common tactics, and they go on and on and on as far as with alienation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you're mentioning this too, because it's going to segue us to the next question,
Mhm.
which is how does the federal and the state play a role in the alienation?
Okay. So, federal and state, um, well, the Texas Family Code, they have the rule and they have it written as possession and access. Because under Texas family law, when there is child support and under the Attorney General, which is the Title 4D, um, it is possession and access because, again, there are setting that because you are the father, you are the biological father, so we have to this is what you are granted as far as with the biological father, to have possession. And when we say that, like, okay, you have access to this, you have the rights to have access to your child, access. And it's like you have to understand the definition of how, when they put possession and access, that means
Mm,
when the child is in your
absolutely.
possession, in your household, You have to fulfill these obligations and these rights as long as that child is under your possession, which is in your household. Access is that you have access to all of this information about the child. School records, dental records, you have access to that. That means you can call the school to get that information. You can call, um, the doctor to get that information about your child because you have access to that. That's how that plays. Now, when it comes to their role, the thing is they don't have a role. They set the standard visitation. If you don't have a private attorney, once you go before the child support system, their only thing is to address standard visitation. They may modify that visitation only if it's agreed upon or it meets certain levels to why they can modify it and remove it from standard visitation to basically could be joint or joint managing conservators. Both you guys are both joint managing. One can be a possessive, the other. So Um, those are different types of roles that they set it at. However, when it comes to alienation, their role is to simply tell you to hire a private attorney because they cannot get involved. They cannot enforce that role. They cannot enforce that order, that section of the order. Yes, they have access to, and they can enforce, they have the right to enforce the lack of payments. However, they do not have the right to enforce a visit to possession and access because again they would be acting on behalf as your attorneys when they're fighting for that type of a possession. So their role as forced for alienation, they will on the state and federal level, again pertaining to if you're going through the child support system. Now if you're going outside of the child support system with your own private attorney, they do take in, it is important that you have documentation of every incident, every event that you feel that you felt there was an as part of alienation, or whether that other parent did not adhere to what the standard visitation said, whether it's a phone call and say, hey, I know today is my, I know it's not within my day, but I would like to talk to my child because again I can have access to speak with my child um, via I can have communication via telephone or however. And once that, if you're denied that, and you make sure you have everything always in writing, you text them, hey, I did not agree with you, denying me access on this day to speak with my child. You have to. And then once you have so much documentation on that, then you can file it with you can also file it yourself. However, if it becomes like an issue as far as with whether there's child abuse or any of those allegations, they will tell you to hire a private attorney because again, a private attorney has to um, go a little bit further than and have access to the things that you can. So that's basically the roles. Like I said, federal and state, if it's dealing with any type of, if child support is involved and you're wanting child support to enforce a visitation, possession, access order, they're not. Um, how they become involved, if they have to basically possibly even testify, they can be, if you had your own private case and, you're calling, them as witnesses or something to testify on your behalf, as far as with that, then they will. However, their role is very minor, is really is
Yeah.
a they play a minor role as far as with alienation. Now they will take any of your concerns, they will assist you as much as possible, whether it's to father's rights, any type of other advocate to assist you as far as with legal aid, that provide you with that information, but they will not go into further detail to tell you what you need to do to further assist you in your issues with alienation. That's where they draw the line and tell you, hey, get a private attorney.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And one other thing too that I want to add on to that is that the Office Attorney General, they have a certain jurisdiction, so
Right,
they mainly within their policy and standards. But however, if a person were to experience alienation, they're probably for you to the Child Protective Service, which is known as CPS.
right,
They'll refer you to them. Then they'll start up an investigation to see if your claims are legitimate.
right,
The only thing about that is that even with these different agencies, the probability for a father to actually present a case of alienation to these entities and for you to be successful with it is very, very difficult. It's very tough. Because
yeah,
at the end of the day, a lot of fathers experience how the system is, especially black fathers, experience how the system is with them, where at the
right.
end of the day, they see them as an unfit parent, unfit father, what's the term? Oh, deadbeat father. That's a
Hmm.
popular one that they love using against the father as well.
Right. And I think that that like I said, that notion, that label that they have on them as deadbeat fathers, I think that's one of the to me, I think that plays a role as far as with alienation, because you already labeling them as, as this as this deadbeat dad, this man who doesn't want to, or this woman who doesn't want to take care of their child or children. So you're placing this label on them as a deadbeat, and so they already feel like, once they go into the system as a non-custodial parent, that they're on a that we're not that the Office of Attorney General is not for them. The child support system is not set up for them. It's set up for them to fail as a parent rather than to be actively involved as a parent. And what you said about the CPS, yes, they do recommend, depending on the type of what is taking place, any type of events that are taking place within your case, then they would, yes, they do direct you to Health and Human through CPS, Child Protective Services. They, and sometimes they get cases in from Child Protective Services over, and then that's when child support has to review, the what CPS has finalized. And sometimes in CPS cases, they're finalized to change status. For that means that the father's now the custodial parent, and and child support is like, okay, so, and 9 times out of, and I'm gonna say maybe 70% of the cases that we get when there's either a change of status, when there's normally a change of status, the father does not want child support for against the mother. They just want their case to be closed with them as the non-custodial parent. And I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say that's about. I'm gonna even increase it to say about, when there's change of statuses from the mother to the father, at least about 80 to 85% do not want child support.
So that's very interesting. So why is it that the fathers once when they have possession with their child, they become the custodial parent? Why is it that the father don't seek out child support as often as the woman does?
Well, because I think as many fathers, they feel like, they've always been, going back dated from centuries. Men were the breadwinner. They brought home. That's what they did. That's actually how they provided for their household. The woman stayed at home, took care of the children. The men worked. So I think they still have that same mentality. Like, I'm still gonna get up and go to work. I don't want to deal, and most of the time they don't want to deal with the system. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to have to go through it. They don't want to have to go through the pressure of, and sometimes they just, like I said, they just don't want to deal with it. Some just feel like they don't need anything from that other parent. So they're like, okay, why do I need to go through this? I don't need money from him or her. I don't need that. So I'd rather just have my case stopped, because we don't have to go further with this. And so that's mostly the reason why a lot of them, They said they always say, well, I can take care of my child. I've been taking care of my child. That's my child. I'm gonna do what I have to do. And they was like, I just don't want to go through this process. Let's just stop it. But they're adamant about, not wanting it against the other parent, because it's some just like it's not worth it.
Hmm. Then overall what they really desire is just for the other parent to just have that relationship
That's
with the
it.
child. Period.
That's it. And just to have a relationship
Right.
with them. Nothing
Mm.
financially.
Yeah, that's interesting. Which just brings us to our next question too. Now, we kind of talked about this a little bit,
Mhm.
probably, but let's dig deep into this. Let's define what is the best interest for the child, because I know this term goes around a lot in the court system, especially in family courts system as well. So what would be your definition of what is the best interest for the child?
Okay, you're right. That is thrown around because that's basically the motto of what the child support system is built up on, the best interest. However, it's highly questionable because it cannot be defined because we we just can't define it. I mean, if they can define it, because if they define it, then they have to basically act upon that definition. So basically, what I'm saying is that
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
I would what I presume the best interest of the child is basically what you consider to be a standard. What am I trying to say? Okay. So what I consider the best interest of the child is basically what are the standard needs that can help a child flourish in life. What are the necessities that a child needs to flourish in life? That's in the child's best interest. And that is whether having both parents equal access and equal responsibilities. I think that's what I would describe the best interest of the child, because again, it takes you a woman needs a man just as much as a man needs a woman to make a child. So it's 50-50 either way. And to me, the best interest of the child is to have equal access and equal responsibility. So I think both, for me, that's what I would consider to be what my definition of the best interest of the child is, that we have to act out that this is equal access and equal responsibilities. Now if one parent is psychologically or financially or criminally unfit, then that's another thing too to consider. These are all the factors that you have to consider when you're focusing on the best interest of the child, because just because that a person brings a child into this world does not mean that they're fit to raise that child. And you have to look at it, whether it's
True.
psychologically,
True.
financially. Like I said, you have to look at all the dynamics and listen, and just basically listening to when both parents, when it goes to court or mediation, because you're going to hear both sides of the story. Some is going to be true, some of it's going to be false. You have to basically do your best interpretation to figure out who's telling the truth and who's not, but also come to a resolution that you know benefits the child. And I think, to me, like I said, it's always equal. Everything should be about equality, everything equal rights and equal responsibility, because no one should be left to say, okay, well, I'm done. It doesn't work that way. Until the child turns 18, you both have equal access and equal responsibilities to raising this child or children. And like I said, that's just my own personal definition. And I think over time it will change, because we're gonna have to um, at the end of the day, the state is going to have to acknowledge that definition. They're going to have to acknowledge what that actually means, and they're going to have to be able to define it. And so that, because a lot of parents are going to want to know, hey, so you said it's in the best interest. So it's in the best interest that I only see my child every first, third, and fifth weekend of the month. Who is that? Who does that best suits? Because it's not in my child's best interest, because my child is crying every night for me. So, you have to think of that. And as a child gets older, you don't want to, and most people like will ask the child. I think that we don't want to put children into situations that they're not ready for. And it can play, like I said, it can play on their psyche, because again, we don't want to promote that we're putting the children here, and we're telling you, hey, you're gonna either go with this parent or that parent. We don't want to put them to have to choose. That's why it's best to just say, okay, two parents come together. This is your child. How can you fix it? What do you want, and what do you want? And some situations
Absolutely.
it's easy, can happen, but some can't, and we have to understand that too. You have some cases that are definitely not in agreement, and we have to understand that too. And you have to reverse back to the best interest of the child. And sometimes the best interest of the child is limited access, um, granted to one parent. And it could be because of different circumstances, maybe because the parent is overseas or travels a lot, or you know um, has psychological issues that limited them to so many hours or days with the child. So I think it's basically, that's just my stance on it.
Absolutely. Now, my interpretation of what is in the best interest for a child is this. It's basically the same thing that you said, but the only difference is that instead of being 50, I believe that it should be 100%, 100%
Right.
with both parents. The reason why I was very skeptical with this 50-50 concept is because it appears that the parents could just do the bare minimum, which is 50%, and that's it. I'm just going to
Hmm.
do the bare minimum, and that's it. Versus going all the way out and go 100%. The
Right.
same concept when we be in relationships too.
Hmm.
I know people say they believe in 50-50. I've heard of the 80-20 rule, all kind of weird stuff, but I'm real animate about the 100-100, where
Right.
you go straight all 100% in. That
Right.
way, if the relationship is successful, that because you're 100% in it.
Right.
If it failed, you did your 100% best in it instead
Hmm.
of just halfway doing it, then expect the other person to pick up the slack. You understand what I'm saying? Same
Hmm.
concept with parenting, 100% in parenting, no matter what.
Right. And I think that, like you said, 100%, um, a parenting. And sometimes, like they said, that not being involved with a child, and even if it's shared, the shared parenting, it can be, that you have to understand there are going to be some unrealistic expectations when you're with shared parenting, because again, you're going to have to, that's why the reason why I say 50-50, because again, you have to know that everybody's schedule is going to be different. Everybody, the arrangements that are made are going to be, um, it's going to be a little bit difficult, to adhere to. So that's why I was saying 50-50, only because again, we're setting, there's going to be some unrealistic expectations when you're doing 100%, because I know at times it will be, very hard for, a parent to, you know have this child, um, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then this one Tuesday, Friday, and it's just a lot. And especially when they're so far, and it's like, how does it weigh on the child? Like, how is the child dealing with this? Going from one household to the next, and it's back and forth. But again, it's a lot, and I don't think we're going to always know or come up with the solution for this, because at the end of the day, whether it's suitable for us as the parents, what about the child? We have to, how is it playing on them? How is this affecting them? Them going from one household to the next, to it weighs on them. And I think that, you know it's going to be difficult either way. But I think that you can take a lot of that stress away, with shared parenting, and both parents just coming together to co-parent. Um, That's basically what I think the child would need, because if the child can see that the parents are trying and they're on, they're on one accord as far as with, how they're raising the child, even if they have to shift the child from here to here, long as it's working, I think, and he can see that, he or she, the child can see that the parents are both benefiting positively from it, then I think it could work 100% also. So
Absolutely, absolutely, and once again, I appreciate you on showing your insights about alienation. I
thank you.
appreciate
You're
this
welcome.
this educating us with so much information, because I know you gave us a lot of information. So we're coming to the last question too, which is pretty much what are the solutions to prevent I say father alienation, but overall, we understand this parental alienation.
Hmm.
So, what would be some solutions that we could address where this thing could no longer be a factor, preferably in the Black community?
I think that we have to, in order to address the issue, I think we have to act as parents. And when I say act as parents, we have to understand that if parents can put their emotions aside, even their wants aside as well, and focus on the needs of the child or the children. I think that's the main thing to solving this. To solving parental, I mean, we're never going to solve it, because again, there are always going to be, unrealistic expectations. They're going to be different, various cases. They're going to play out differently. So I think the best thing that we can do is try to communicate and to actually sit down and talk to see what is the best solution for the child, not for them, because again, parents have been, when you decide to have a child, you decide to make sacrifices. So at the end of the day, your children, I mean, the parents are always going to make sacrifices. I think the solution is to come to sit and communicate and say, sit down and say, how can we be better parents, and how can we co-parent so that, you know we can both be comfortable with each other, and both comfortable knowing that our child is is getting the best of both worlds, even if we're not together. And I think that's the main thing that needs to happen. And I think that also a lot of fathers need to, you know make this known that it's not okay. I think a lot of fathers feel like they're just in the system, and especially black men, they feel like the system is out to get them, that they can't they can't win in this situation, but you can. I think that the best
Yeah,
thing, you know, like I said, hold them responsible, hold them accountable for their actions, the other parents' actions. And I think that's one thing, accountability. Hold them accountable for their actions. If you have a standard visitation order, hold them accountable to that standard visitation, hold them accountable to your visitation hours, hold them accountable to even because you have every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m., 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Hold them accountable when you're not able to see that child. And I think sometimes you have to be just as effective as far as with have wanting your access to your child, as you are as far as with wanting to stop child support. And so you have to be adamant about that, you want what's in the best interest of your child, and you have to just start holding each other accountable, hold the other parent accountable. For fathers, I would suggest that read your order, because it's there for you. And
absolutely.
if you don't understand it, interpret it the way that you want to, and follow with the course, and they can better understand, and they can explain it to you. But I think that, like I said, it's about holding the other parent accountable. And again, but in order to solve it, we can start communicating better, and communication only on co-parenting, especially in the black family household. We have to understand that even if we're not in the household together, you still have a father. We may not be in the household together, but you still have a father, you still have a mother. I think that's the
Absolutely.
best solution.
Absolutely. And I agree with that too. Now, Just through me personally, through my personal experience dealing with alienation, my weakness was the lack of knowledge thereof. So what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that, I mean by that by me not knowing how the system orchestrate everything, not me knowing about the behavior behind alienation, that made me a weaker person. But however, throughout time, I started researching, I started finding out about these different things. I started researching about the behavior of alienation, all these different things to help improve me as a father. Once when I started researching about these things, I started implementing them. I started
Right.
reading about the orders, understand the certain orders that I have in place. I go to some professionals so they can interpret
Right.
it for me. Uh,
Right.
another thing too, which another thing too for black men is that they need to participate in court. If you
Right.
have a hearing, you must show up to your hearings, because if you don't
Right.
show up to your hearings, then they could do anything to you, anything.
Right.
They could replace anything. So I was very adamant. Well, whenever I found out about a court date, I was there. I remember it was one time where they tried to sneak a court date in on me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they tried to sneak a court date in on me. They tell me, well, you have court today. Why nobody didn't tell me about this?
Right.
So I ended up going to court. I didn't no more because of my personal experience with attorneys, because I learned that a lot of attorneys is for the system anyway. They want to keep the system evolving anyway. So I learned to go what they call it, pro se. I learned
Mm-hmm.
to
Yes.
represent myself
Right.
legally. So I showed up at the court hearing, and immediately, when the case was started, immediately I requested the judge the motion of the judge to reschedule the hearing, and not him the reason why. And I told her, I like, Your Honor, the reason why I'm motioning to reschedule this hearing is because I'm just now hearing about this, and I'm just not prepared for this at all. I need time so I can go back and be prepared for this. The
Mm-hmm.
judge, the judge, like, well, when was this put out? Look at it. Well, yeah, he don't have the time to prepare for this. Motion granted.
Right.
It's
It's
just that simple.
definitely, yes, it
Yeah,
is.
it's
It's
just that
simple.
simple. Being that proactive with your children, and that's what it took for me to be that proactive with legally, being proactive with them as well as physically. While I'm there doing the visitation, even though I didn't. Some of the visitation time I didn't like, but
Mm-hmm.
I took advantage of to spend the best hell of time with kids as possible, creating that bond with them every moment that we get with it, even though it was a short moment. That also encouraged them to not only treat me the way how you treat me, but also treat your mother as well the same exact way, teaching them values and respect and everything. Even though they're going to two totally different households, so I believe that that's one of the big solutions too. Is that it takes self awareness for yourself to
Right.
understand the system, to understand your role as a father.
Right.
Once we understand your role as a father, then you have the weapons to fight the system. You start getting that knowledge, you have the weapons to fight the system.
Right. Yes, you're absolutely correct. And I think that when you said like once they know their role as a father, once you bring a child into this world, no, because nobody can define your role as a parent. And I think they can legally define your role as a parent, but you know, emotionally, morally, no one can define your role as a parent because again, that should never you should never be able to define that. It's undefined because again, you cannot describe a person's role as a parent because you don't know all the sacrifices that that parent had to go through. You don't know emotionally, physically what that parent had to go through or is going through with their child. So I think, you know, I think that when we, the role, it may be legally defined as far as your rights and responsibilities and your roles, but as your role as a father or as a mother, it's undefined because again, you're going to do way more than what in a court order states. You're going to, and you're going to act you're going to act differently than what, a judge would say for you to act. Or I think that, so another thing that, another solution is that when we say co-parent, I think, the parents need to be on one accord at all times. Whether the child should know that
Absolutely.
I can't do it at my mom's house, and I will not do it at my dad's. Because again, you can't do it
Absolutely.
here, you can't do it there. They're on one accord. What they say go, and if it goes on at your mom's, if she says no at your mom's, then your dad says no at your dad's. You have to be on one accord, because again, you have to work together as if you're living together. So I think that's one of the ways. But I think, like I said, over time we can solve it. It's just going to take, especially in the Black community, us coming together and normalizing co-parenting. I think that's what we need to start doing. Instead of normalizing
Yeah.
being single parents, we need to start normalizing being co-parents. Start normalizing co-parenting. I don't see anything wrong with it. Um, yeah. So
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the only I feel that the only way that co-parenting will be very successful if the father and the mother just completely get out of their feelings.
right,
Whatever happened in the past, let it stay in the past. If it didn't work out, it's fine. It's
right,
okay. But however, y'all have this child that y'all procreated together, and
right,
so we have to still work together as a family unit, even though we're not a family, but we
right.
still are a co-parenting family.
Yep.
So we have to work together to raise this child so this child can be successful in their endeavors. Because at the end of the day, we know and we understand that children picks up behavior from
Mm-hmm.
the parents. They
Right,
mimic certain behaviors from the parent all the time.
right,
So in essence, us parents, we really set the stage on how our how our children is going to be when they become adults,
right.
because they look at how we handle situations, what we go through, how the way we going back and forth, and and whatever, what I'm saying. But if we're co-parenting as a strong unit, even though we had differences, that child's going to pick up on that, and they're going to become adults, and they're going to enter into their relationships differently. They're going to
Right.
see things differently, and see that they're not a mistake. Their parents didn't break up because of them, and none
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Right. Right.
A different
Uh,
dynamic.
yeah. I mean, and I think that's, like I said, we have to know, we have to stop normalizing, you know, things that does not make us better, like, single parents. We know there are some, but let's start normalizing, co-parenting. Because, let's change the single parenting to co-parenting. We don't have to be together to, we're not single, we're just not together, but we're co-parenting. So, think, we can just put a little spin on it to, and I think that'll make each parent comfortable to knowing that they're co-parents, and that means we both share equal responsibilities for this child. Until this child is grown, this is our responsibility, no one else's.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we had our last 3 minutes, and I promise you that we was just going to want to be in this for an hour.
Oh,
Well, once again, I appreciate your feedback, and I
thank you
appreciate
for having
everything
me.
that you're doing. I just do you have a Facebook page where you want to follow you, or what are the type of projects that you're working on right now at this moment?
Okay, well, right now, I'm in the last stage of my dissertation. I am now conducting interviews for seeking out fathers that live in Dallas, that have child support orders, and are non-custodial parents, which that means the child does not live with you. I am interviewing them because I want to know um, from their experience of on parental alienation. I'm on Facebook, Fatima Thomas Moody. I am also on Instagram. Doctor underscore Moody 2021. And that's the only thing that I'm on. What else? LinkedIn. Sorry, as Fatima Moody. So those are my only social media outlets that I have right now. But again, like I said, I can be reached at fatima.moody. I'm sorry, fatima.thomas. I still use my maiden name, fatima.thomas, at waldenu.edu. If you have any questions or, any questions, comments, concerns, any
All
questions that you
right.
want to ask us. So
Oh, good. Let me go ahead and share your dissertation real quick. Hold up. Let me
thank
share
you.
real quick where we could at least have it. What on here you could review this panel. Here we go.
Yep, that's it.
That's for anyone who participate in that. This her dissertation right here that she's talking about. All right, cool.
All right. Thank you.
Well, once again, I appreciate you coming on to my panel. I appreciate it a whole lot. I
Thank you
know
for inviting me.
we really didn't touch support yet, but it was a method behind the madness, and I
Right.
love to have you on the panel. You could go deep into about the child support system through
Oh,
the
yes.
office attorney general because I know you got a whole lot of nuggets on that too.
A whole lot of knowledge, a whole lot of, yeah, to share with the world. Yes, yes, yes. I would love to participate. Just let me know. It's gonna get deep, and yeah, that's the hardcore stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, everybody, I am King Robert Washington. I'm known as the official urban therapist. I'm on all platforms: Facebook, YouTube. I also have an Instagram as well. Even though I'm not on often, but I do have an Instagram
Mm.
as well. And oh, Miss Moody, she forgot to mention that both of us is on Clubhouse as well. So if
Oh,
you have
yes.
a Clubhouse membership, you can find us on Clubhouse as well. Matter of fact, we may do a one group chat Clubhouse. What do you think?
Yeah. I
Start
think
up a
we
room.
should. Yes, I think we should. And I think it should be on all topics relating to, you know, father's rights or mother's rights, parental alienation, child support. Hey, let's talk about it all. I think we have a lot of information we can give out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, once so much, and I thank everybody for tuning in today. This show is going to be also available where you could also watch it anytime. And I encourage y'all to share this video because this information is needed, especially in the Black community, because we need to get past the parental alienation and any other type of thing that's dealing with the Black community. But I believe that this is one of the key things that's really, really holding us back for real. All right, so that's it for this topic, and we'll see y'all next time. And like always, y'all fight fate with faith.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.